It should come as no surprise to the general gaming community that another fighting game series is making a huge comeback. In recent years, beloved titles have received fresh additions and significant updates. Right now, there's no better time to dive into fighting games. Excitement and anticipation have been building, especially among fans of Under Night In-Birth. They've eagerly awaited a new release or a sequel that embodies the essence of modern fighting games. Fast forward to now, it's hard to believe that we're here now at the release of Under Night In-Birth II. Marketed as a sequel to the original, Celes introduces major changes to his characters and gameplay, along with exciting tournament news. This announcement rekindled the passion of the Under Night community, giving many something thrilling to anticipate. As a competitive fighting game player who has explored various titles, this game truly made a lasting impression that I'm excited to dive into. Unity 2 features a single-player mode that immediately greets you with the full cast of characters. Each character has a description that introduces them briefly, which is a brilliant feature. It helps you understand each character and how they fit into the story before you play as them. This isn't common in fighting games, especially in arcade mode. I feel that including character descriptions is a thoughtful and helpful touch for players, making it easier to connect with new characters. Before we can dive into the story of Unity 2, I figure it's best to give a quick refresher for players unfamiliar with the story so far. The story of Under Night In-Birth is centered around a phenomenon called the Hollow Night. On these nights, unseen creatures named Voids appear. Voids feed on a power in humans called Exist. Voids can control their own Exist, which differs from humans. The main character, Hyde Keto, becomes an In-Birth after surviving a Void attack. Later on, he meets Lyn, an ancient In-Birth, who asks for his help to end her life. Different In-Birth groups like Amnesia and the Licht Kreis make appearances throughout the main narrative. They face conflicts and uncover secrets in the supernatural world, making for a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The sequel, Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes, is the final chapter. It introduces a new force, Kuan the Aeon. Kuan declares the end of the world is near. This causes Lyn to disappear, so Hyde sets out alone to save their world from Kuan. The characters in this series are fascinating. Unfortunately, new players will have a hard time grasping the story. Some characters will mention off-screen characters and events, which if you haven't played the earlier games, you'll be lost. Even with character descriptions, I found it tough to follow as a new player. While it's usually advised to play the previous games, I think the game should have recaps of past stories. This would be reminiscent of how Tekken 8 approached getting new players into the story. Additionally, an encyclopedia explaining the Under Night world would be great. The Under Night world is grand and ambitious, so I truly hope the story is handled better in future games, making it easier for everyone to enjoy. Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes has an amazing combat system, with features like Exist, Shield, Assault, and Veil Off. As stated before, Exist is the energy characters utilize for powerful attacks. The Exist gauge fills when you get attacked or hit. Shield is for defense, keeping you safe from chip damage and create a space between you and your opponent. Veil Off boosts your attack power and other skills for a short time, using part of your Exist gauge. The more Exist you have, the longer Veil Off lasts. Lastly, Assault is a faster and more powerful way to approach your opponent than normal jumping. Despite these features, the core strategy of the game is played around the grid gauge. The grid gauge, just like in the previous games, is shared by both players. If you play well, both offensively and offensively, your side of the gauge grows, strengthening your attacks. The opponent's side can grow too if they do the same. You can use a lot of these mechanics if you fill the grid gauge well. A few examples of the mechanics are Creeping Edge, Vorpal, and Concentration. While it can take a bit to learn each of these characters, it's worth it to balance out your playstyle efficiently. These mechanics create a complex, fun game that rewards good defense and offense. It encourages players to get better naturally. While usually it would seem bad for a fighting game to have so many mechanics in his game, Under Night handles this very well. The mechanics link perfectly to the overall game strategy, which is to keep your grid gauge fuller than your opponent's. This game's combat system is truly for new and experienced fighting game players alike. Fighting games are tough for many players. Learning combos is cool, but losing can make you feel bad. In other words, it's hard to know how to get better. Community members and developers always discuss making fighting games easier for new players. It's not an easy task, but there are always attempts. Now we are finally seeing some good changes that push the genre forward in this regard. One of the best new things in fighting games as of late is a replay feature. If you want to get better, you need to watch your replays. You can see the matches you lost and figure out why you lost them. It shows you the mistakes you keep making, which helps you learn and get better. Many new fighting games have this feature, so you should try it at any modern fighters you play. Unity 2 has an even cooler feature and goes above and beyond standard replays. There's a replay assist in the pause menu during a replay, where you can control your character in that part of the replay. You can choose to play as either character, giving you many more options. This is great for trying new ways to escape or defend against tough moves. You can also find gaps for counterattacks and new combos. This take control replay feature is honestly my favorite thing to write about in this Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes review. It's still a huge feature to have in fighting games. The first time we saw this was in Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R in early 2021 on PC. Moreover, Under Night isn't the only modern fighting game with this feature. Tekken 8 introduced the Take Control replay feature as well and has been met with critical acclaim. Sadly, few new fighting games like Street Fighter 6 and Guilty Gear Strive have it yet, but there's hope they might add it in future updates. The training menu for Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes has great learning tools for new players to sit down and play around with. One of the coolest features is the battle speed changer. This tool lets you slow down the game, which is super helpful when you're trying to learn a new combo. You start slow, get better, and then it speeds things up until the combo feels easy. Another great tool is the frame data display. It shows important info about your attacks, like startup frames, frame advantage on hit or block, and the total frames of the move. Knowing about startup frames, total frames, and frame advantage is vital in fighting games. These details help you understand which moves are fast, which ones keep you safe, and which ones can put your opponent in a tough spot. The training menu also includes a fantastic tutorial mode. It's designed to teach new players step by step. There are 5 levels: Novice, Beginner, Intermediate, Advanced, and Expert. Each level has different lessons to help you improve. The best approach is to go slowly, learning one thing at a time. This way you won't get overwhelmed and you'll see your skills grow. The mission mode is another awesome feature. It's like a full guide on how to play your chosen character. You get recommended combos for different skill levels and key strategies, covering anti-airs, mix-ups, block strings, and playing the neutral game. Like the tutorial mode, take it one step at a time. Learn a lesson, then practice against a computer, a friend, or online. If you're unsure where to start with a character, mission mode is your go-to. Hopefully, more game developers will continue to make their training menus better and more helpful for players. In Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes, players can make their characters look really cool. This game doesn't have different costumes but offers many color options. The best part about this ability is that you can create your own colors, like a Melty Blood type Lumina. You can change different parts of a character using 40 color palettes. This means you can mix and match colors in many ways. It's so fun that you might spend hours finding cool color combos. Another welcome feature in Under Night is changing the game announcer. Are you tired of the normal announcer's voice? Now you can pick any character to be your announcer. In the Customize menu, you can choose from different characters for this role. They will then announce what's happening in the game. This little change adds lots of fun to the game. It's something players will really like. I really appreciate how Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes lets players personalize their game experience. It doesn't limit you to only what the developers made. You can pick your character's colors and choose your favorite character to be the announcer. These cool features are something I wish more fighting games would have. They add so much fun and personal touch to the game. Of course, we cannot go into a fighting game review without talking about the online experience. Netcode has been a hot topic in the fighting game community as of recent, due to how much bigger fighting games have gotten in popularity. People want to play with many players across the world, but if the online experience is bad, then it's hard to enjoy them. Frenchbet took this into consideration and announced that Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes would be implementing rollback netcode. For those who don't know, rollback netcode is a system that reduces lag, making the experience smooth for both players. As I've had the chance to play it myself, I can confidently say that the PS5 version of the game has great online. I've encountered no issues on the console version and my inputs were all read successfully. It's great to finally experience good netcode in an Under Night game. Unfortunately, this cannot be said for the PC version of the game. Riddled with bugs, crashes, and even a region lock in place where players can only play against people nearby them online, it's difficult to recommend getting the Steam port right now. Thankfully, the developers are continuously working on patches as we speak. In the last part of this review of Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes, let's dive into its overall presentation. When you start the game, you're greeted with an amazing opening. It shows all the characters in cool ways, blending 3D backgrounds with 2D characters. The colors are mostly dark and purple, creating a unique look for Under Night. The opening song, The End of Reincarnation, is sung by Jun Ishikawa. Her voice perfectly captures the emotion of the game's story. It's easy to see how this opening quickly pulls you into the world of Under Night. The music in this game is another big highlight. Raito, the composer, is known for his work in other French-bred fighting games. His music mixes electronic beats and traditional instruments like piano and guitar. Sometimes you'll even hear some cool rock elements. Raito's music sets the mood for each fight and character. It's not just background music, it really adds to the excitement and feel of the game. Lastly, the art style in this game is varied and interesting. You'll see characters drawn in different styles, from detailed portraits to cute TV version. This keeps the game fresh and exciting, especially for new players. The characters have unique outfits that show their personality. You can tell a lot about them from how they stand, talk, and fight. Because of this, every character is special and fun to play. It's clear that the creators put a lot of love and thought into each character. Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes' overall presentation is spectacular. I'm a big advocate for having a good presentation, as it shows off the developer's passion. I want to play a game where I can feel the love being put into it. With each and every corner of this game, I can see hard work being implemented to make this game feel alive. If you haven't witnessed the Under Night In-Birth series yet, then you're missing out. The Under Night series has been around for 11 years, and this huge comeback for them is well deserved. If you're looking for a fighting game that is friendly for newcomers and has amazing visuals, complex mechanics, and fantastic music, this is a great option. Despite my gripes on how the story is handled, I think Under Night In-Birth II Sys Celes is a great fighting game for newcomers and old players.